In a world where hidden deities shadow humanity's every move, the descent of night unleashes a tide of restless ghouls and nightmare-born beasts. Cursed with a sinister destiny from birth, this boy's existence is anything but ordinary. His only guardian is a grandfather who has devolved into a feral psychotic entity. Once twilight strikes, the elder's sanity fractures. He vanishes into the timberlands to hunt monsters with primal brutality. During the boy's tender years, tragedy struck. A dominant clan plundered his most sacred treasure. This divine fetus holds a primordial energy, capable of shattering the foundations of the cultivation world. This stolen gift fuels his resolve. Under his grandfather's savage tutelage, he transcends human limits daily. The old man subjects him to grueling drills, caustic medicinal soaks, and hellish concoctions. Brewed from lethal vermin and toxic vipers, these meals forge his spirit. Yet, a more enigmatic mentor waits within the sylvan depths. A lifeless figure dangles from a prehistoric oak. Though he appears to be a mere cadaver, he is the boy's secret sovereign. He imparts a singular, chilling lesson in this ruthless world only the apex predators endure. Thus a solemn oath was forged. He will reclaim his divine fetus and bring the entire cultivation realm to its knees. Now, let's dive into the legend. Our tale starts here. Amidst a serene grove, a pair of songbirds share a quiet moment on a swaying bough. Tranquility shatters as heavy hooves thunder against the earth, sending the feathered duo spiraling into the sky in terror. A high-speed convoy tears through the brush, led by a grim-faced man with a sharp goatee spurring his mount onward. Suddenly, his gaze sharpens. Yanking the reins, he forces his steed to rear up, signaling a frantic halt to the entire line. A solitary boy stands motionless center path, halting their progress. Heavy guards flank a lavishly decorated carriage. Navigating the thicket, a sentinel addresses the noblewoman. "Within, my lady, our journey's end is near." Detecting a presence, he notes, "My lady, a child stands ahead. He might provide the intel we need." From within, a composed voice ripples, "A mere boy is no threat." The guard dismounts to confront the youth. Motionless by an ancient trunk, the boy watches as the man dangles a silver coin. "Listen, kid. Have you spotted any other younglings lurking nearby?" The boy tilts his head, eyes filled with feigned curiosity. "I'm tracking peculiar kids, ones that resemble porcelain dolls." Surprisingly, the boy declines the shimmering bribe. Grandpa says taking gifts from strangers is a no-go. Feng Hai smirks, flashing the coin again. "The name's Feng Hai. Now, we're practically family. Consider this a tip for your help." Suddenly, a devilish grin spreads across the boy's face. He pops a glistening trinket into his mouth, crunching away as he begins to speak. "Searching for kids, about a foot tall, always traveling in packs." The guard's eyes bulge. "That's them," he shouts to his comrades, confirmation sparking in his eyes. Then, without warning, an unseen kinetic blast slams into the carriage, vaporizing the roof. From the obsidian shadows of the tree line, predatory glowing eyes lock onto them. The boy remains motionless, suddenly wreathed in an ethereal blue radiance. Anxiety flickers in his gaze, until a soothing voice drifts from the gloom. A woman draped in violet silk materializes. "Little brother," she purrs with a soft smile, "seen any porcelain dolls in these woods?" Xiaoxi gazes up, his nerves melting into a radiant beam. "Wow, big sister. You're gorgeous. Way prettier than that Ju Yusai lady." A faint blush touches her cheeks. Bewildered by the odd comparison, she refocuses. "Can you guide me to those dolls?" Placing a playful finger to his lips, Xiaoxi beckons. "Follow me." He vanishes into the deepening brush. The atmosphere thickens, bleeding into a crimson twilight. She freezes as a silhouette dangles from a limb above. Suddenly, Ju Yuchai emerges from the gloom behind her, wearing a venomous, triumphant smirk. A grotesque skeletal monstrosity with a lashing tongue strikes from the dark. The ambush is sprung. Glancing back at Xiaoxi, the purple-clad woman realizes, "So you're the one." Xiaoxi simply nods, unfazed. "Understood. Seize the boy. We're moving out." Meanwhile, across the desolate landscape, a lone horseman flees through the timber, leaving a macabre corpse swinging in his wake. Elsewhere, a menacing figure in a bone-white skull mask barks an order, "Xiaoxi, eliminate the interlopers." As the group navigates the fog with their prize, Xiaoxi suddenly doubles over, clutching his midsection. "I'm starving. Grandpa's got dinner waiting. Can I grab a bite before we continue?" The woman chuckles softly. Offering a strip of dried meat, she says, "Try this, spirit beast jerky. It beats your village scraps any day." Tossing him a snack, she purrs, "Give it a taste." Her guard leans in. "Hey kid, what's your name and where's home?" Chomping on the meat, the boy chirps, "I'm Xiao Shuo from Hongpi village. Folks call me Little Honest cause I never cap." The lady ruffles his hair while Xiao Shuo beams, thanking her for the meal. As he dashes forward to guide them, the duo stares in shock. The servant gasps, "My lady, look at that kid." She nods grimly. "He's a cultivator. Just 10 years old, yet he's already unlocked the divine fetus realm. A total prodigy." While Xiao Shuo snacks, a radiant blue divine shrine flickers into existence behind him. Suddenly, the guard drops a bombshell. "Milady, the shrine is there, but the divine fetus inside is gone." Her brow furrows. How? The servant replies icily. In this world, being born with a treasure is a death sentence. Some elite clan likely snatched his talent, ripping out that fetus to graft it onto one of their own kin. Without it, he's a hollow shell. That jerky's energy is just a temporary spark in a dead engine. It clicks. So his strength is just a ghost. Her servant gives a grim nod. Surviving that surgery was a miracle. They literally cracked his skull to steal it. Just then, Xiao Shuo's blue glow flickers and dies. The shrine vanishes. Suddenly, the guard remembers a vital clue. Lately, that mid-tier official's son, Li Shang, miraculously topped the provincial rankings. He probably has Xiao Shuo's stolen power now. Another man speaks up smoothly, Melody. That family is too dangerous to touch. She smirks. Still playing along with this kid could be fun. Her face turns stone cold. Poor brat. Give him a swift end. Then she issues a darker command. Wipe out Hongpi village. No one can know the Jia clan found the true king's tomb. Meanwhile, Xiao Shuo strolls along nonchalantly, chewing a blade of grass. He sighs, whispering to a phantom hovering nearby. Master, what's that saying about burial figures? The creator of burial dolls leaves no heirs. The ghost explains. It means total extinction for his enemies. Their whole bloodline was erased. Xiao Shuo looks up, a sinister grin slowly creeping across his face. So, enemies must be deleted entirely. He nods. Master, you really are the goat. Cut to a serene, foggy mountain. A hand plunges into the stream, hunting for fish in the shallows. A pack of tiny porcelain dolls are vibing, splashing, and catching fish with pure, innocent joy. They're clueless about the predators lurking. From the shadows, the lady in purple and her guards watch. Steel rings as they draw blades. She smirks. So these are the living dolls from the tomb. Follow them, and they'll lead us straight to the treasure. But someone else is lurking in the brush. It's Xiao Shuo, looking stressed out. He murmurs under his breath, "Hang in there, little brothers." The lady bows mockingly at the dolls, her grin turning wicked. "Thanks for the assist, little guys." The dolls keep playing, squeaking with delight over their fresh catch, totally unaware of the trap. Crouched in the grass, Xiao Shuo feels a massive power level approaching. He drops low, hiding his presence. He watches the purple-clad lady and her squad step out from the fog. Suddenly, his luck runs out. A foot slips. Xiao Shuo tumbles out of the brush, face-planting right in front of the startled dolls. The three porcelain kids freeze. They just stare at the newcomers in a deafening, terrifying silence. The heavy pressure from the strangers is suffocating, but then the lady suddenly kills her aura. Seeing the awkward mess, Xiao Shuo made her intimidating mask cracks into a look of total confusion. She leans toward the shaking dolls with a weird, predatory grin, clearly unsure how to handle this. The dolls are paralyzed with fear. One starts hyperventilating, letting out high-pitched, panicked squeaks. Staring at the lady, total panic sets in. He flails back wildly, and belly flops into the river. A massive splash drenches everyone. The lady sighs, her aggressive aura exploding back to life in frustration. She's genuinely baffled. Why would a mere brat be this absolutely terrified of her very presence? Wait, she spots the dolls using the distraction to bolt. After them, a soldier roars. Armored guards unsheath their steel, charging into the woods to cut off the escapees. They tear through the brush, hunting for shadows as they close in on their tiny prey. A guard catches sight of tiny shadows darting through the brush and lunges forward. Found them. The porcelain runts are over there. They bolt through the thicket, hearts hammering. A terrified glance back confirms the worst. The soldiers are flanking them in a perfect pincer move. Box them in. Break their line of sight, a soldier bellows. The squad shifts tactics instantly. Behind them, the lady in purple stalks forward with a predatory grin. The unit tightens the noose. Meanwhile, the violet-clad woman smiles coldly, tailing her prey deeper into the heart of the ancient woods. The hunters sprint through the timber, their forms blurring between massive trunks as they move to shut down any path of escape. Suddenly, reality begins to warp. The trees stretch toward the heavens like reaching fingers, their bark expanding into impossible, unnatural heights. The world distorts around them. The woman and her guard skid to a halt, swallowed by blades of grass that now tower like skyscrapers. The greenery looms overhead. How did a mere brat vanish in plain sight? The guard snarls his pulse, hammering with sudden unease. Then a chilling realization sets in. This isn't just a dense thicket, the very fabric of the forest has become fundamentally wrong. Grass stems have turned into pillars, while the trees loom like titans above. The woman scans the area, her sharp gaze cutting through the mutated landscape. Her eyes narrow. She can sense a heavy magical distortion warping the terrain. Moments ago, a brook bubbled nearby, but now everything has changed. A thunderous, violent river now crashes against the banks before them. The woman's face pales as the sheer scale of the water hits her. "The forest didn't grow," she whispers, her voice trembling. "We've shrunk." Suddenly, a blood-curdling scream rips from the guard behind her. He collapses, clutching his mangled leg in agony. But instead of blood and gore, his wound reveals a hollow white void. His limb looks like shattered china. My body, he gasps, staring in horror at the jagged ceramic edges where his flesh used to be. The lady stares at her own trembling hands. A cold, unnatural luster creeps over her skin. She too is becoming a decorative ornament. Chaos erupts among the troops as their joints stiffen. One by one, the soldiers freeze into rigid, polished porcelain figures. As the ceramic curse consumes her, the truth finally clicks. Her pupils dilate with a look of pure, unadulterated dread. This is a ghost in God domain, her lieutenant growls. Inside this realm, our divine sparks are completely snuffed out. We're nothing but fragile dolls now, he gnashes his teeth. That little brat lured us straight into a damn slaughterhouse. She forces herself to remain calm. There's a catch, she says, pointing ahead. The rules of this domain apply to every living thing. If we've turned to porcelain, so has he. Her gaze turns icy with lethal intent. She won't let the boy escape her grasp. Hunt him down. The soldiers push forward, wading through blades of grass that now feel like a dense alien jungle. An enormous shadow blocks their path. A fortress of junk and debris towers over them like an ancient, decaying citadel of the gods. She hacks through the giant grass, eyes gleaming with greed. If this domain exists here, then the true king's tomb is definitely within reach. Took you long enough to catch up, a familiar voice taunts from the shadows. The group freezes, looking up through the massive foliage. They spot Xiao Shuai, standing in the distance, casually waving as if he doesn't have a single care in the world. The boy flashes a cheeky grin. His skin is already reflecting the light with a high-gloss polished porcelain finish. Behind him lies a hidden cluster of porcelain dolls. Over here, he chirps. The lieutenant leans in, whispering with urgent intensity. My lady, the kid has transformed too. If we bag him, he must know the secret to reversing this ceramic curse. She nods, her expression frigid. Good. We'll drag the truth out of him. The squad follows Xiao Shuai deeper into the oversized wilderness. They soon reach a clearing filled with massive blue and white vases that pierce the clouds like ivory skyscrapers. The woman's heart stops. Her mask of confidence cracks instantly as she stares at the vessels. This isn't a burial ground. It's a kiln, she shrieks, voice cracking. We've walked into a furnace. Nearby, a soldier reaches a hidden corner and shouts. I've got them, he bellows. Tucked in the darkness, 3 small porcelain dolls huddle together, shivering in absolute terror. They cling to each other, sobbing as the enemy closes in. The soldier cackles, savoring the scent of their helpless fear. He conjures a massive spectral claw. The ghostly hand descends like a crane to crush the tiny porcelain children like discarded toys. But then heaven falls. A devastating force slams down from above, making the entire world explode in a thunderous shockwave of dust. The spectral hand shatters like glass. The ground heaves and groans from the sheer violent impact of the collision. A monstrous power strikes the earth, pulverizing the soil instantly. The shockwave cancels the attack with a bone-jarring, deafening roar. A massive pale limb drops from the sky, cratering the ground near the woman. Shrapnel and debris fly in every direction. From the billowing haze, a colossal pale titan emerges. It towers over the entire battlefield like a vengeful ancient god. The monster tilts its massive head. Sinister red eyes burn through the smoke, locking onto the woman with murderous intent. Seeing the titan's impossible scale, the woman's composure finally snaps. Run, she screams. Everyone, save yourselves. The warriors scatter like ants in a storm, desperately dodging falling boulders as their world turns into a literal hellscape. The behemoth's movements fracture the earth, its massive palm slamming down with the devastating power of a mountain collapse. It hunts the frantic soldiers, but hope is dead. A colossal fist craters the soil, leaving nowhere to hide. Screams for mercy vanish as bodies are flattened. The sheer pressure is sickening, nearly forcing their eyes from their sockets. While the beast tightens its lethal hold, it obliterates a stone wall, sending jagged shards raining across the battlefield. Beneath the debris, trembling porcelain dolls emerge from the shadows. The woman whips around her senses on high alert. Her gaze fixes on a shivering kid. Suddenly, the giant's massive fingers snatch her subordinate Fang Hai into the air. Fang Hai, she shrieks. Horror strikes as she watches him dangle his desperate pleas for life echoing in the wind. Before she can move, a porcelain child hushes her, pressing a finger to its lips. Absolute silence is their only shield. She paralyzes. Her heart shatters between saving Fang Hai and obeying the child's grim warning to remain unseen. Shaking in the shadows, she tries to process the hellscape spiraling out of control around her. Out of nowhere, a massive eye peers through the breach. Its pupil dilates, scanning the ruins for any sign of life. She presses against the icy stone, lung-seizing fear, taking hold as that titan eye glides inches from her face. By sheer luck, it misses. She and the last survivor strike, now making their move. Scrambling from the crack, they desperately attempt to outrun the shadow of the looming monster. Lungs burning, she gasps for air. But the second her gaze lifts toward the heavens, her blood runs cold. A titanic face towers above, inspecting them like a curious child watching ants in the dirt. The giant laborer effortlessly plucks a thrashing disciple from the earth. The poor soul dangles utterly powerless. Hoisting him toward a blazing furnace, the giant simply flicks his wrist. The man's screams trail off as he plummets. Straight into the hellfire, the inferno consumes him whole, his dying shrieks echoing for one final agonizing moment. Only ash remains. Witnessing the carnage from the dark, a survivor spits out a bitter curse under his breath. The crushing scale of their enemy finally sinks in. Nearby, crouching behind a gargantuan clay jar, she watches the giant work fury simmering in her veins. The grim realization hits her junior brother is likely gone. Shen Shang Xiao Kai perished in this hellhole. Suddenly, a voice cuts through her thoughts, and it isn't a monster's growl. Three tiny porcelain-skinned figures stand before her. With eerie calm, they ask her a chilling question. Were you also played by that honest beast from Hongpi village? The woman stands frozen in pure shock. Their voices are clear to her. The leader snarls in rage. That filthy brat played us for fools. For 2 long years, that kid has been baiting treasure hunters into his trap, leaving them broken and transformed. They've become fragile porcelain shells with no cure in sight. Hearing this, a vital realization strikes the woman. These men were hunting the true king's tomb too. That means the boy who cursed them holds the key to breaking this nightmare. She hardens her heart. Escaping this porcelain fate requires immediate action. Suddenly, a porcelain man with a mustache points a shaking finger, his painted eyes widening in shock. You're the second young lady of the Xuanshang Xiao clan. She simply looks down, composed. The miniature man identifies as a Quanzhou cultivator who crossed paths with her years ago in his human life. Even in porcelain shells, the martial world is tiny. The 3 doll-like figures bow with deep traditional respect. They introduce themselves to Lady Xiao one after another. Her complexion turns ghost white as she listens. Sweat beads on her brow. She knows that name. That man was once a legendary golden core cultivator, a powerhouse her clan would honor. And yet even an expert of his caliber was reduced to a fragile plaything by that boy's schemes. She grits her teeth as reality sets in. That innocent kid is a monster. Meanwhile, deep within the scorching heart of the kiln, a behemoth strides through the searing heat carrying a massive blue vase. He casually hurls it into the dirt. The ceramic explodes on impact. Shards fly everywhere, and from the wreckage of the vase, Xiaoxi spills out, cackling wildly. He's clearly vibing with the absolute destruction around him. He tumbles down the dusty path from the blast, sliding violently until he crashes into the dense brush. At the forest's edge, a cluster of glowing kilns pierces the darkness, burning with an eerie intensity. Xiaoxi gazes at the blazing encampment, his eyes turning ice cold. Something about this just doesn't sit right. Why do those urban vultures always hunt witnesses like him, just to hoard more treasure? Suddenly, ice floods his veins. His master's grim warnings echo as a dark silhouette haunts his mind. Under a blood-soaked moon, he recalls the brutal lesson of how true cultivators erase their enemies. Xiao Shi's gaze turns lethal. Since these fools hand-delivered themselves, he'll bury them where they stand. Not a single soul will escape. Deep within the mist, ancient stone sentinels stood guard. They guarded a hidden trail to the secret kiln, a path no outsider could ever hope to track. Xiao Shi scrambled up the moss-slicked stairs, driven by desperation. But in his frantic rush, he lost his footing and wiped out. His body hit the stone with a metallic clang and sparks. Pure terror gripped him. He frantically checked his foot, heart hammering against his ribs in panic. Seeing the surface held, he finally exhaled a shaky breath and slumped back to recover. He wiped the cold sweat away. Right now, his brittle body couldn't survive even the smallest blunder. Xiao Shi edged along the jagged cliff. In this state, he was walking a razor-thin line. One slip meant instant death. He tested every jagged stone before committing his full weight. Suddenly, he bolted through the tall grass. To survive, he had to play a dangerous game. He had to weaponize the crushing aura of the ghost god domain surrounding the king's tomb. Drawing in the ambient energy, Xiao Shi braced himself against the soul-crushing gravity. Glowing runes flared on his arm as the power answered. With one motion, he let it rip. Emerald mist swirled around his fingertips as he bent the surrounding force to his iron will. Green lightning lashed at his arm as he wrestled for control, but his lethal gamble was working. He slammed the domain's weight against his porcelain curse, grinding the two opposing powers together. His frame shifted as the transformation peaked. He stood tall, while his porcelain shell finally melted away. Flesh and blood at last. With his senses back, Xiao Shi scanned the gloom with predatory focus. Staying low, he slipped deeper into the ruins, a shadow passing beneath gargantuan ancient relics. Stone dragons loomed from the walls. Then a strange pulse of light caught his eye below. Wrapped in roots was a golden monument humming with power. Xiao Shi pulled out some spirit jerky. He grinned, knowing the secret power of this snack. It was time to unmask the truth. To peel back the tomb's lies, he took a bite and centered his spiritual focus. He shattered the illusion as blue flames exploded around him. Pushing forward, he entered the fray. Under a ghostly lantern, the barrier tried to flatten him. Every step felt like carrying a mountain. It almost crushed his bones, but he didn't stop. Suddenly, a beastly howl shook the foundations. Halt! A massive rock sentry blocked his path, looming over him like a living mountain. It warned him that the domain's full power would end him regardless of his royal bloodline. But he wasn't scared. Around them, the ancient stonework began to shatter under the immense strain. He stood firm at the glowing entrance, his mind racing as he decoded the mechanism. Finally, it clicked. His gaze snapped toward the golden monument trapped within the ancient roots. He read the runes they spoke of harvesting starfire to forge a righteous, upright spirit. Before he could finish, the sentry roared again. A huge shadow fell over his small frame. A metal boot crushed the ground nearby. "Kill your greed and leave now," the Titan thundered. Then it revealed a secret. It owed a debt to his grandfather and didn't want him dead. It pointed to the sunset. When night falls, this place becomes a literal tomb for everyone. There would be no escape. Xiaoshi realized he was running out of precious time. He bowed quickly. "Thanks for the heads up, Uncle Ramhorn." With that, he hauled ass away. Blue trails followed him as he tore through the woods, desperately outrunning the creeping shadows. But a bitter taste remained. He hadn't finished stealing the secret arts from that golden stone. Finally clear, he stopped to breathe, his lungs burning as his chest heaved with exhaustion. Deep down, he yearned for a normal life, studying hard to ace the imperial examinations and becoming a prestigious scholar. Failure wasn't an option. He was desperate to prove his worth and make his grandfather truly proud. Suddenly, the sky bled a menacing, ominous crimson. Xiao Shuai winced, shielding his eyes from the eerie glow. He recognized the horror instantly. It felt like the heavens were glaring down as the sun began to sink. The realm was entering its lethal night phase. Terrified of the roaming spirits, Xiao Shuai forced his legs to run. He had to reach home before twilight ended. Meanwhile, back at the ruins, the lesser beast guardians questioned their leader. "Why spare a mere human?" the massive blue demon grumbled, though he'd actually wanted to crush the boy instantly. But he feared the boy's grandfather. Years ago, that troublesome old man had forcefully breached the true king's tomb. He survived 9 days of lethal traps despite their best efforts. The old man even managed to steal the tomb's ultimate secret, the water-fire tempering method. The demon suspected the grandfather had a dark plan. Perhaps he intended to refine his own corpse to achieve immortality. But then the demon considered something even grimmer. What if the old man was already dead? He barely looked like a living, breathing human anymore. A chilling wind swept through the wreckage. The demon suddenly noticed something unsettling about Xiao Shuai as well. He sniffed the air and confirmed it. Just like his grandfather, the boy possessed absolutely zero human life aura. Night finally claimed the forest. A cold moon lit the trees as Xiao Shuai sprinted through the dense undergrowth. He was desperate for safety before the spirits rose. Suddenly he froze, his eyes widening in pure horror. From the darkness ahead, an eerie howling wind began to rise. He was too late. A massive shadow loomed from the void. A single glowing eye pierced the night, followed by a bone-chilling shriek. Its grotesque face was skinless, its massive mouth hanging open and dripping with foul saliva. Xiao Shuai bolted through the woods. Behind him, the monster's multiple red eyes locked onto his every move. As its enormous body pulverized trees, he realized the truth. This was the evil spirit from the warnings, the sunset monster that harvests the souls of the living. His grandfather's stories were terrifyingly real. The earth exploded as the monster's giant hands smashed down. Xiao Shuai barely managed to dodge the impact. Cornered and out of options, he pulled out his final spirit jerky. The fear in his eyes slowly vanished. Determination took over. Instead of running, he chose to fight, testing the three lights' upright chi art. Using the technique he'd deciphered from the golden steel, Xiao Shuai finally activated his hidden power. A spectral gate materialized behind him. Azure energy surged through his veins and a confident grin appeared. The true king's techniques far surpassed anything from school. Moving faster than a heartbeat, Xiao Shuai shot forward like a blue streak, rushing past the skull monster. Even a fragment of starlight granted him legendary speed. Ahead, he finally saw his village entrance. Relief flooded his heart. He was safe. But then the blue energy vanished. His body collapsed and Xiao Shuai crashed hard onto the ground. Panic filled his mind. He'd fallen just steps from safety as the multi-eyed skull monster loomed over him. It released a deafening shriek right into his face. He froze, but before the strike landed, a sharp wind blade sliced the air. The monster recoiled. Xiao Shuai stared in shock as relief washed over. Standing between him and death was his grandfather. The old man remained calm, completely ignoring the beast. He simply said, "Time to go home and take your medicine." Xiao Shuai nodded, his heart still racing. But looking at the old man's back, he noticed a strange, fleshy stench clinging to his grandfather. Something was very wrong. They began walking, but the nightmare wasn't over. The monster roared in fury. A massive hairy tail lashed from the darkness. The village's peace shattered with a sharp tearing sound. The multi-eyed beast lunged its jaws opening to devour them. Suddenly, a jagged bolt of yellow lightning exploded through the air. It slammed into the beast, spraying blood across the dark night sky. The creature was overwhelmed instantly. Its roar became a whimper, as the devastating strike crushed it. Xiao Shuai tilted his head back, drinking the final drop of medicinal soup before wiping his mouth. Relieved, the bitter drink was finished, he leaned back into the hot bath as steam rose around him. He let out a long sigh. But the peace vanished as the water suddenly began to bubble violently. Horror strikes Xiao Shuai as the chilling truth hits him. This isn't a relaxing soak. He's actually trapped inside a gargantuan iron cauldron. "Stop boiling me alive," he screams, in a panic. But the nearby black hound remains unfazed. It simply clamps its jaws onto a fresh log. The beast aggressively stokes the furnace beneath the pot. Flames roar with hunger, and Xiao Shuai shrieks as the water reaches its boiling point. Submerged in the burning medicinal brew, his consciousness drifts backward. He flashes back to memories of his elderly grandfather. The old man explained he had once been comatose for an eternity. He only survived because his grandfather never left his side. Day and night, the elder forced spiritual herbs down his throat just to sustain his life. Yet something about that story feels incomplete. A massive void still haunts his mind. Xiao Shuai stares into the steam. He has absolutely no memories prior to the age of 9. His fingers brush against his skin. A jagged, monstrous scar stretches across his torso, a permanent reminder of some forgotten tragedy. It's a savage wound that should have ended any normal child's life. Suddenly, dark rumors begin to click together in his head. That scar wasn't an accident. Someone brutally sliced his chest open, specifically to harvest and steal his divine fetus. His innate celestial potential was ripped away and transplanted into the heir of a ruthless, high-ranking aristocratic clan. The culprits are finally clear. This atrocity was orchestrated by Assistant Magistrate Li to empower his own worthless son. Li Shang essentially cheated his way to the top of the provincial exams. Xiao Shuai's face darkens as the agonizing memory resurfaces. His very birthright was carved out of his flesh. He was left hollow and broken. Now pure vengeance flickers in his eyes. He white-knuckles his fists beneath the scalding liquid. Because of Li Shang's bottomless greed, Xiao Shuai has endured 2 grueling years. He's been forced to consume toxins and bathe in lethal venom just to survive. Finally, his patience snaps. "I refuse to be the only one in pain today." With a roar of fury, Xiao Shuai scoops up a massive wave of boiling. He hurls the medicinal soup straight out of the vat. The scalding, bubbling liquid flies through the air. It drenches the black dog completely. The animal instantly freezes, looking absolutely pathetic, covered in the thick yellow sludge. The hound stares back in sheer disbelief at the sudden retaliation. Xiao Shuai looks at his dripping palms and has a revelation. If someone bothered to steal his divine fetus, it proves he was never the talentless loser everyone claimed he was. A predator's grin slowly spreads across his lips. Even without that stolen power, he will cultivate his own legendary path. He'll reach the top through sheer will. But his hope quickly shrivels. Though his head wound healed long ago, Grandpa still insists that he must endure this boiling torment inside the cauldron every single day. Below him, the black dog puffs its cheeks. It exhales a gust of air into the embers, turning the flames a haunting green. Suddenly, Xiao Shuai's breath hitches. A suffocating pressure draws near. The door creaks on its hinges. Grandpa emerges from the darkness, standing like a silent specter. Xiao Shuai tracks the old man's movements, wondering exactly when his grandfather started feeling so incredibly eerie. Bathed in that sickly green glow, Grandpa looks less like a man and more like a reanimated walking corpse. Xiao Shuai remembers the past. There was a time when Grandpa's presence felt warm. He used to celebrate every minor breakthrough. He would hold Xiao Shuai with genuine pride. But the hollow figure standing before him now is a complete stranger. The affection is gone. Suddenly, Grandpa's features twist into a terrifying demonic snarl that chills Xiao Shuai to the bone. His eyes ignite with a predatory crimson light. A piercing roar erupts from his throat, vibrating through the entire room. The emerald flames beneath the cauldron surge in a violent explosion of heat. Even the black dog looks exhausted and annoyed. The hound seems done with the old man's erratic behavior. Xiao Shuai watches in silence until the terrifying aura finally dissipates. Grandpa retreats back into the house and the door clicks shut. Xiao Shuai collapses against the iron rim, exhaling a shaky breath. But peace is fleeting. The dark liquid begins to churn with newfound violence. The temperature spikes to a lethal level. Xiao Shuai throws his head back and grits his teeth. The true agony of the tempering process has arrived. The soup boils furiously. It feels as if his very organs are being incinerated from the inside. Driven mad by pain, he thrashes against the iron. A soul-shredding scream echoes through the midnight air. Much later, the door slides open. A broken Xiao Shuai stumbles out. He clings to the wooden doorframe, his entire body quivering from total depletion. Across the moonlit courtyard, he spots a shadow pacing inside a nearby room. It's Grandpa. The old man is whispering to a glowing message talisman. Xiao Shuai realizes the truth. Grandpa is desperately trying to reach Xiao Shuai's father once again. Through the thin paper, Grandpa's trembling voice carries through. He's pleading for the man to return for his son. Xiao Shuai's gaze turns cold. He instinctively clutches his scarred chest with bitterness. He hasn't seen a single trace of his father since his memories vanished. Inside the dim room, Grandpa collapses before the ancestral altar. He softly confesses that his time on Earth is finally running out. Suddenly, his expression twists into something monstrous. He crushes the message talisman as his jaw unhinges with a sickening crack. Like a hollow corpse, he shoves the paper into his mouth, devouring it with the ferocity of a starving beast. He draws a jagged breath, pulling burning incense smoke deep into his lungs, while his eyes ignite with crimson fire. The void inside him remains empty. That night, Xiao Shuai's sleep is haunted by a foul, creeping stench in the air. His eyes snap open. A dark silhouette looms over his bed. It's Grandpa, eyes bleeding red and saliva dripping like venom. "I am starving," the old man rasps. He pins Xiao Shuai down, fingers digging into his shoulders, ready to strike. Clang! A sudden metallic ring echoes from outside. Grandpa freezes instantly before vanishing through the window like a ghost. The wooden shutters slam violently against the howling wind. Left alone, Xiao Shuai curls into a ball, trembling in pure terror. He desperately prays. Grandpa is only ill. He refuses to believe the man who raised him truly wants him dead. Suddenly, a violent hammer strikes inside his chest. Azure energy surges through his frame, making his veins bulge and throb. He collapses onto the sheets, gasping in agony. Deep within his soul, the dreaded ghost hand curse begins to awaken. A spectral claw shreds through his ribs, crushing his internal organs. Xiao Shuai's silent scream rips through the dark room. The medicinal bath seal has shattered. He bolts upright, drenched in sweat, calling for a grandfather who doesn't answer. Total darkness swallows him. Spectral claws reach from the abyss, dragging his consciousness down into the crushing deep. Then a spark of resolve hits him. He can't hide forever. Xiao Shuai forces his broken body to stand. Survival is on him now. As the ghost hand squeezes his heart, he reaches for his final desperate hope. The three lights upright chi art. He stomps his foot, forcing his trembling limbs to finally obey his will. His fingers weave a complex seal. Brilliant celestial beams pierce the heavens, defying a world abandoned by the gods. Xiao Shuai summons the stars. Starlight cascades from the heavens, striking the cursed green brand burned into his back. Under the holy radiance, the ghostly grip dissolves. The curse breaks. Drained of everything, he hits the floor. Xiao Shuai lies on the cold stone lungs, burning for air. He's survived, but the mystery remains. Why did that phantom claw choose his body? He stares at the silent moon, drowned in a sea of unanswered questions. Deep in the woods, blood soaks the earth. Grandpa huddles over the carcass of a massive fallen monster. He rips into raw flesh with primal joy, a dripping organ clutched in his blood-stained hands. He grins, the meat crunching between his teeth. "Evil spirits taste far better than mortals," he calmly remarks. Satisfied, the elder cleans his beard and fixes his hair. Behind him lies a scene of absolute grotesque carnage. The Titan's corpse sits motionless, a pile of pale skin and rolling lifeless eyes streaked with gore. Even dwarfed by the monster, Grandpa radiates a terrifying power. He casually inspects the creature's massive tentacles. This slaughter is just another day. Mist blankets the courtyard as the first gray light of dawn finally breaks. Suddenly, a heavy cleaver bites into a slab of meat. The sharp crack shatters the morning's uneasy silence. Peering from the shadows, Xiao Shuai shivers. He remembers the dark rumors of a diet that excludes human flesh. Holding his breath, he peeks through a sliver in the door, searching for the truth behind the steel. Inside, he finds his grandfather's hunched shadow silently butchering meat in the cold, dim light. The air feels heavy with dread. Then as birds begin their morning song, the malice suddenly evaporates. Hepping Village wakes up. Excitement ripples through the crowd as the monthly ritual offering finally begins. Banners wave as villagers hoist a golden pig and fresh fruit, marching toward a promise of eternal safety. At the heart of the village stands a colossal ancient spirit tree, serving as their silent, towering protector. It looms like a guardian deity. Legend says this tree is all that stands between them and the night. One by one, the villagers fall to their knees, bowing deeply before their leafy ancient god. They pray to the godmother. Crimson plaques dangle from the thick branches, whispering in the wind. High above, the godmother herself reclines on a branch, her presence completely hidden from the mortal eyes below. She swings her bare feet playfully, watching the worshippers with a mischievous smirk dancing on her lips. Darker thoughts linger behind her smile. She grabs a blood-red apple. Xiao Shuai reaches for a bite, but Grandpa's hand clamps onto his wrist. "Where did you get that?" Xiao Shuai points toward the ancient tree. "The godmother." Grandpa's eyes turn icy as his grip tightens. "She is no godmother." As his grip crushes Xiao Shi's wrist, the facade crumbles. That juicy apple instantly decays in the boy's palm, melting into a vile purple goo. Grandpa obliterates the foul fruit, tossing it like trash. If she were a real deity, he growls, every soul here would be her kin. Suddenly, the celestial spirit above stills, her smirk vanishing instantly. She senses it, this old man is no mere mortal. Without a word, Grandpa drags Xiaoxi from the cursed tree. Avoid that entity. It's pure deception. As twilight falls, Xiaoxi heads back home for a meal. He sprints to the table starving, but his appetite dies on the spot. The bowls are overflowing with a viscous, emerald slime teeming with rotting scorpions and centipedes. Gagging, Xiaoxi clamps his nose shut in horror. You call this food? Grandpa's bony hand crashes onto the wood. His hollowed face radiates a terrifying chill. This venom is your only cure. Xiaoxi stammers a protest, but I'm feeling fine. Grandpa's eyes ignite with a faint, eerie light. Down it. He turns coldly, leaving the boy behind. He pauses, whispering, I saw your condition flare up last night. Xiaoxi's heart stops dead. The old man was out slaying beasts all night. How could he know the bedroom secrets? Meanwhile, outside, a shadow lurks in the abyss. A gargantuan, unmoving eye peers through the door, trembling in silent dread. Xiaoxi gives in instantly. He hoists the bowl, forcing the vile decoction down his burning throat. A faint rasp echoes from the dark good. Silence reigns until Xiaoxi suddenly heaves for air. His heart feels like it's melting in a furnace. Yet, instead of death, a raw power surges through him. He maneuvers into the three lights chi art. Cobalt starlight erupts from his skin as he taps the cosmos. With his divine core, stolen standard cultivation is impossible, forcing him onto a forbidden trajectory. He'll forge his very flesh into a sacred vessel. Celestial rays flood his meridians, lighting up his nerves. Pushing past human boundaries, the boy later preps a rugged wooden cart for their upcoming journey. He hoists a massive chest, securing their gear with precision. Then, gripping a ritual brush, he carves intricate crimson runes into the wheels. These haste seals will cut our travel time, he tells Grandpa. He grimaces, balancing a bowl of pungent black dog blood. The metallic stench is absolutely nauseating. He shoots the dog a wicked smirk. You know, the purest yang comes straight from the jugular. The pup goes stiff with fright. Cold sweat beads its brow as Xiaoxi mimes a lethal cut. Dipping his brush in gore, Grandpa ignores the teasing. His hollow features are masked by a tattered hat. Ready for departure, a golden compass whirs frantically before snapping toward their destined path. Ancient gates groan open, the runes flare, and the cart rockets forward with arcane momentum. Move it. Grandpa bellows, but Xiaoxi sprints behind, testing his reinforced physique against the wagon's speed. With a cocky grin, he vaults onto the boards. Their odyssey starts. Soon after, he dives off the moving deck. Clutching a basket of offerings, he races up a slope toward a lonely tombstone under a weathered tree. Igniting incense, he offers a deep bow. Suddenly, a suspended corpse in the canopy above begins to twitch. A ghastly specter with a trailing tongue floats down. The spirit nods politely. I accept your tribute. The ghost fades into the dark. Xiaoxi parkours back onto the cart, his newfound speed catching Grandpa's eye. The treatment is effective. Let's double the dose. Xiaoxi's face drains of color in pure terror. They reach Shenyang village, where the locals bow before an ancient pagoda spirit they call the Godmother. A radiant monk spirit dwells within. The people's devotion gave him life, and in exchange he wards the land. But as Xiaoxi starts snacking on the altar's holy fruit, the monk's eyelid snaps open. That peaceful grin masks a predatory hunger. The facade explodes. The monk mutates into a colossal, nightmare behemoth, slamming a claw at Xiaoxi. Barely dodging the strike, the boy learns never trust a spirit's mask. Next stop, a bustling metropolis, thick with the scent of street food. Xiaoxi unpacks a chest, prepping a stall. It's filled with Grandpa's handmade seals, since high-tier talismans require the divine core realm to craft. Authentic ones are treasures. Most elite masters serve the emperor rather than hawk goods in the streets. This makes Grandpa's stock priceless. Within minutes, two high-ranking scholars descend upon their small stall. Old Chin One beams. Back in the game, Grandpa gives a stoic nod. I have message seals and peachwood charms. The man lets out a hearty laugh, dismissing the scripts. He teased that the boy had finally become a true scholar, but then his voice suddenly drops to a chilling whisper. A disturbing rumor is spreading. Word is, old Jim has passed away. Beneath his straw hat, the atmosphere instantly freezes. Grandpa's gaze ignites with a demonic crimson glow. He looks more like a beast than a man. Xiaoshu stands paralyzed. Cold sweat beads on his forehead. Suddenly, the scholars erupt in laughter. It's just a tall tale, Grandpa chuckles along. The suffocating pressure vanishes in a heartbeat. But Xiaoshu stays quiet. That joke hit way too close to home. Haunting memories resurface. He sees Grandpa devouring incense candles in the shadows, his gaunt face distorted by a primal hunger. He inhaled thick smoke, hungrily absorbing every drop of spiritual energy. Xiaoshu recalls spying through the door that fateful night. What he witnessed was pure nightmare fuel. Incense burned before a memorial tablet, and the name engraved on it was Shen. That was Grandpa's own name. The horrifying reality finally sinks in. Those whispers about Grandpa resting inside a coffin, the bizarre rites, and that insatiable hunger. They weren't just legends. They were the cold, hard truth. Out of nowhere, a lady clad in purple drapes over Xiaoshu's shoulder, flashing him a mischievous grin. She playfully pokes his chest with a soft giggle. It has been ages since our last encounter. Hiding behind her is a timid girl in green. With a playful flush, the purple-clad beauty teases Xiaoshu about his impressive glow-up. The duo makes their exit, silk robes dancing in the wind. Xiaoshu is left there totally rattled and blushing. His head is reeling from that sudden encounter. Meanwhile, at the talisman booth, an elder in a straw hat waits. He smoothly asks the crowd for their orders. Bronze coins jingle as the lady in purple steps forward once more. She asks for 2 peach blossom charms, purposely handing the payment to a visibly flustered Xiaoshu. As they swap cash for charms, she leans in way too close, teasing him about his flawless complexion. Xiaoshu's face turns beet red as he stammers back her order. Mortified, he frantically fumbles with the wooden charms. He tries to hide his burning cheeks. After neatly packing the talismans, he hands them over, relieved to see the ladies depart. The purple-clad lady loudly gushes over Xiaoshu's top-tier visuals. Her friend reminds her that the kid is still within earshot, but she just giggles. Xiaoshu stares as they vanish. He can't stop grinning like a total simp. Suddenly, he spins toward Grandpa, blabbing about needing a bathroom break. He acts awkward, but Grandpa isn't buying the act for 1 second. Cough it up, Xiaoshu instantly stalls. He tries to play dumb, claiming total ignorance. Grandpa just stoically sits on the ground and holds out his palm. He demands the talisman profit without saying a word. Xiaoshu groans in annoyance, insisting he's grown up now. He claims he's got the business side handled. Grandpa just scoffs. You still need 2 more years of those healing baths. Your body isn't ready yet. Xiaoshu sulks, but Grandpa drops another bombshell. You're still ill. Done with the mystery. Xiaoshu snaps, demanding to know his actual diagnosis. Grandpa just stares back with a haunting, empty silence. Later, their rickety cart creeps through the jagged mountain peaks. Xiaoshu nibbles on his rations in brooding silence. Suddenly, he freezes. A dark realization hits him. He glances at Grandpa, who sits motionless amidst the swirling smoke. The elder looks incredibly weak and weathered. Xiaoshu recalls when a local asked Grandpa about those death rumors. He gazes at the old man, silently praying he won't pass away. To clear his mind, he snags a bug and flicks it into the breeze. Grandpa rests a heavy palm on his head, sensing his hidden dread. Deep down, the fear lingers. Death is unavoidable, the elder mutters. Don't be naive. Xiaoshu looks up, eyes full of worry. Grandpa gestures toward the skyline. Ahead are the remains of a slaughtered village where vines swallow the crumbling stone walls. Dark forces annihilated this land, Grandpa explains, the second its guardian deity drew its final breath. If even gods can perish, mere humans stand no chance. Xiaoshu's eyes suddenly light up with a faint hope. Will you become a guardian spirit when you're gone? That way we can still hang out every single day. Grandpa just sighs. His next words shatter the boy's heart. Once I pass on, the underworld will pull my soul into the void. Suddenly, haunting cackles erupt from the shadows. Xiaoshu spins, terrified. Eerie blue specters materialize from thin air. Ghostly apparitions begin to spiral frantically around their small cart. Amidst their wicked laughter, Xiaoshu points in total confusion. If the abyss claims every soul, then why are these spirits still lurking? Grandpa stares into the distance. These entities remain, he whispers coldly, because I've spent my life offending both the divine and the damned. Finally, they arrive at Fangsun village. Perched on a jagged precipice, a gargantuan ancient tree looms as Xiaoshi gazes at its twisted canopy with suspicion. No divine godmother haunts these roots. Kneeling before a weathered shrine at the trunk, Xiaoshi ignites incense, whispering a desperate plea. Veiled within the high branches, a green-haired entity with timber antlers indifferently snacks on stolen fruit. Her aura shields this land from the grave, yet peace shatters instantly. Panic ignites as villagers flee like hunted prey. The 6 gates enforcers have arrived. Amidst Xiaoshi's bewilderment, an elder breathes a chilling truth into the air. The magistrate's lapdogs have come for their tribute. These brutes storm the village gates with savage intensity. A rider jerks his mount back iron hooves inches from crushing Xiaoshi. Behold, the great Ming's absolute law. Pay up or bleed 100 lashes, the officers roar. Atop his steed, a man called Lutan watches with arrogant pride. Sneering at the cowering peasants, the 6-gate squad rampages through the market, smashing stalls and plundering everything in sight. Consulting a scroll, an officer scowls. Lu Sishi cleared his land debt, but his trade taxes remain unpaid. Show yourself, Lu Sishi, he bellows at the barred gates. Silence follows, so the officer starts a deadly countdown. 3 seconds or we smash the door. Suddenly, a malevolent, blood-red mist explodes from within the manor. A monstrous shadow looms in the entrance. As the officer recoils, a terrified local stumbles forward to intervene. Mercy, Sir Lu Sishi is gone, the official's face darkens. Since when? Right after you last pillaged us. He took his life on the godmother's tree, the peasant stammers. By the time we found him dangling, his corpse was cold and rigid under that ghostly crimson glow. The officer's pupils dilate in sudden realization. The grim truth hits him. This man offered his very soul as a sacrifice to summon a god's vengeance. A sinister smirk twists the official's face. Trying to hex us from the afterlife, he cackles with pure disdain. The soldiers storm toward the sacred shrine. Their leader bellows a warning against the godmother's vengeful wrath. That's an act of war against the great Ming. He brags that no backwater spirit outranks imperial law. The empire's might can crush a puny deity in seconds. Then he drops a cold, ruthless ultimatum. Should the godmother shield Luji's restless ghost, this village loses its divine sanctuary forever. You'll all be abandoned to the night's terrors. Xiaoxi watches, paralyzed by the official's sheer audacity. A mortal daring to threaten a god on her own turf. High above the deity appears as a young girl. Munching on snacks while browsing a scroll, she gazes down. Can such blatant disrespect actually go unpunished? Cold sweat beads on Xiaoxi's brow. The goddess faces a brutal dilemma: avenge Luji or save the village. The goons invade Luji's hollow home. Death doesn't cancel debt, the leader snaps. Drag out the rest of them. Sir, there's nobody left, a soldier mutters. Daughter sold, son drowned, and the wife vanished into madness. Heartless, the officer demands they pillage the place. If there's no coin, we'll seize every single scrap. Troops kick down doors and ransack the rooms, finding nothing but worthless junk and absolute poverty. An officer grumbles, if we miss the tax quota, the shortfall comes straight out of our own pay. A twisted plan takes root. If a dead man can't pay his dues, then the entire village will. The wolves turn toward the trembling crowd. Tension thickens as the leader accuses them of inciting a rebellion. But the peasants stand firm, knuckles white as they clutch their tools. The official chuckles. Every man here cleared the imperial exams, but we aren't mere scholars. Suddenly, sapphire energy erupts from their forms. They're cultivators awakened by divine spirits. The leader sneers, delivering one final bone-chilling threat to the crowd. Resist and die along with your entire bloodline. The villagers' resolve instantly shatters under the weight of fear. Terror replaces their fury. Suddenly, a gnarled hand reaches out, offering a heavy bag overflowing with gold coins. Take the tax, a calm voice rings out. The officer grins, recognizing Grandpa Jin perched on his cart. Face veiled by a straw hat, he greets Lord Lu. The noble laughs, still rich enough to pay up. For now, at least. Suddenly, Lu freezes. His nose wrinkles as a foul stench wafts through the breeze. His face clouds over as he identifies the smell. It's the unmistakable, sickening reek of a rotting corpse. Lu stares at the cart, horrified. The stench is coming from Grandpa. Suddenly, he points directly at Xiaoxi. Recognition flashes in his eyes. So it's true. You're the legendary top scholar from the 50 provinces. Xiaoxi is baffled. Why is this terrifying official suddenly acting so jittery in his presence? Lu forces a polite smile. Old Jin really pulled off the impossible, stealing the very secrets of heaven. All for this brat. His smile vanishes. Step out of line once in your mine, he warns chillingly. With a sharp gesture, Lu commands his men to plunder the stall. But out of nowhere, Grandpa unsheathes a dagger. With a lightning-fast strike, he plunges the blade deep into the black dog. Crimson sprays as the dog howls in agony. But wait, the whole gruesome scene is just a clever ruse. Xiaoxi had already doused the pup in red dye. Now the dog is putting on an Oscar-worthy performance. It drops to the dirt, faking its final breath. The stunned officials are completely caught off guard. Ignoring the chaos, Grandpa starts chanting while his brush dances across a fresh talisman sheet with perfect grace. He's forging a high-tier talisman right there. Its value is priceless. Lu and his men watch in awestruck silence. Mesmerized by the old man's mastery, Xiaoxi whispers, "Was I, actually, that legendary top-ranked scholar?" Grandpa doesn't even break his focus. "Why are you always digging up the past, little Jin?" Nearby, the dog gnaws on a weird red satchel. Suddenly, it spits it out and tenses up. It starts barking madly, at nothing. Xiaoxi looks up, the very atmosphere feels distorted and wrong. Grandpa tugs his hat low. The darkness is closing in, he growls. "We need to move. Now." Xiaoxi is lost. It's high noon and the sun is blazing. Why the sudden rush? But Grandpa ignores the crowd clamoring for his wares. Profit means nothing when your life is at stake. Time's up. Sensing the impending doom, Xiaoxi frantically starts hauling the crates of unsold talismans. He heaves a massive crate, then freezes. The air thickens with dread above the village shrine. The emerald-haired godmother, Spirit, peeks over the altar, her predatory gaze locked on the travelers. Lord Lu clutches the tax gold. No victory cheers, just a sharp, desperate command to retreat. "We're moving now." His men stare back, paralyzed by the sudden, frantic order. Sunlight is our only shield. After dark, these woods become a lethal supernatural playground. Monsters here devour divine fetus masters for breakfast. Lu glares at the towering spirit tree. "That tree was fed a human soul," he mutters. The leaves shiver in response. "I am not sticking around for the fallout." Nearby, Grandpa brandishes a wriggling live centipede. Dinner is served. Xiao Xier shudders, absolutely done with this extreme medicinal diet. Suddenly, Grandpa's eyes snap to the horizon. The sun is dropping way too fast. Darkness swallows the sky 15 minutes early. A freezing gust whips against the jagged cliffs. Did Blackpot lose track of time? Grandpa snarls at the shivering black hound. Keep failing, and you are stew, he growls. Hongpi village is still miles away. They will never make it before nightfall. Then Xiao Xier spots a lonely silhouette ahead. A solitary temple stands against the dying light. The cart rattles toward the potential refuge. Xiao Xier leaps down to scout, but Grandpa remains tense, sensing a hidden trap. Was this place even here before? Xiao Xier falters his memory, suddenly feeling hazy. The mountain feels alien, like it manifested from the shadows just to trap them. They bolt inside. The interior is a total wreck, with a shattered open roof. Pale moonlight illuminates a silent statue surrounded by heaps of ancient dusty debris. That open door is a death sentence. Xiao Xier starts hauling heavy stones to barricade it. He battles a massive boulder, shouting for Grandpa to help with the crushing weight. Suddenly, he hoists the rock overhead effortlessly. Pure raw power surges through his veins. The starlight cultivation did not just heal him, it turned him into a superhuman beast. He slams the boulder home, sealing the entrance, but the roof remains wide open. He lunges to fix it, but his new strength catapults him far too high. He crashes back down, smashing straight through the rotten floorboards in a cloud of dust. I actually jumped that high, he gasps. Is the medicine mutating my entire body? Little 10, dinner time, Grandpa calls. Xiao Xier scrambles out of the wreckage. Gold fades to twilight. A cold blue moon rises as the spirit realm wakes up. High above the forest canopy, pale feet dance silently along the branches. The hunt begins. Lord Lu's squad races through the downpour. We will not reach safety in time. Target that temple, Lu commands. Horses gallop toward the smoke rising on the hill. The godmother spirit descends, perching gracefully on a branch to watch the chaos. She peels an orange, smiling at the doomed officials. Lu feels a sudden icy dread. Shadows swarm. She takes a bite as the world explodes into pure chaotic violence. The structure detonates. Crimson mist sprays the night as a jagged blade flashes through shadows. A head rolls. Panic flares. The slaughter is cold, calculated, and absolutely merciless. Men and horses are tossed like broken toys. The massacre is swift and brutal. The squad is erased instantly. Lu screams as a massive wooden spike impales his chest. He is hoisted into the storm, blood geysering from his mouth as life fades away. Spiritual pressure crushes his mind. He watches a small figure float down from the heavens. It is the godmother. She lands lightly on the very spike, piercing through his ribs. She snacks on her fruit, staring with cold indifference before leaping into the remaining soldiers. Invisible vines of energy blast the survivors away. Now she turns toward the temple. Her gaze turns razor-sharp. Deep within the ruins, Xiao Xier stares through a narrow gap in the planks. The bloodbath unfolds before him. Then the godmother's chilling gaze locks onto his. Xiao Xier recoils, paralyzed by pure dread. Cold sweat drenches his skin. A terrifying realization hits this monstrous entity, knows exactly where he's hiding. A final bone-snapping crack pierces the silence as the carnage concludes. Within the wreckage, Xiao Xier stands deathly still. He holds his breath, bracing for the beast to shatter the entrance and end his life. Suddenly, the crushing aura vanishes into the night. Then Grandpa's steady voice cuts through the gloom. Witness that Xiao Xier quivering, the boy whispers the godmother. She annihilated dozens of elite cultivators instantly. He spins around toward the hearth. There sits Grandpa, casually tending to a steaming, bubbling pot. Unfazed by the horror outside, the elder stirs the soup. Don't let her strength intimidate you, he mutters. Soon you'll be trampling those imperial dogs like insects. Xiao Xier looks down, lost in thought. That god-tier power seems light years away. Grandpa lets out a raspy laugh. You've got it all wrong. Forget brute force, your destiny is god-tier speed that rivals hers. Instantly, Xiao Xier drops into a low fighting guard. The old man breaks down their foe's fatal flaws. The Six Gates cultists rely on the Heaven Heart art, prioritizing spirit over flesh. They're glass cannons. Their magic is world-ending, but their physical forms are pathetic and weak. Everything rests on their divine cores. Grandpa points to the carnage. If you blitz them before they react, they fold like a house of cards. He returns to the pot, swirling a lethal violet poison. The toxic brew seethes over the flames. Your core was stolen, Grandpa murmurs, but this venomous regimen is forging your physique into a living weapon. He offers a bowl of the neon purple nightmare fuel. The master's final directive: when facing mages, close the gap in a heartbeat. End them before they utter a single incantation. Staring at the bubbling sludge, Xiao Xier has an epiphany. This vile concoction is actually effective. While Grandpa credits the medicine for his rapid growth, Xiao Xier hides a trump card, the three lights art. He slams the empty bowl down, eyes burning with resolve. Denied a traditional path by his stolen core, he's pioneered a radical new cultivation style. He funnels every ounce of energy into his muscles. A ghostly blue glow begins to radiate from his skin. Fusing the toxic brew with his hidden technique will skyrocket his progress to insane levels. Weaving a complex seal, he enters a deep trance. Violent blue energy erupts from his center, enveloping him in a spectral firestorm. Pale moonlight bleeds through the ceiling as emerald flames lick the cauldron. While the venom simmers, the hound dozes nearby. Suddenly, the animal's ears perk up at a strange vibration. A ghostly murmur ripples through the air. Grandpa is huddled in the corner, his frail frame shaking uncontrollably. He raises his gaze, revealing empty, haunting eyes. The primal aroma of living prey fills his nostrils. As Xiao Shir drifts further into his trance, the old man's sanity starts to snap. Standing shakily, a pitch-black aura leaks from his pores. Hungry, he rasps, looming over the defenseless boy. His withered hand extends, fingers twisting into jagged claws as he fights the demonic urge, devouring his soul. No Grandpa bellows, battling his own inner beast to save his grandson. He hurls himself away, obliterating the wall and plummeting into the abyss of the cliffside. He crashes into the lightless valley. The thunderous impact jolts Xiao Shir back to reality. His eyes snap open. Lunging toward the wreckage, he spots his grandfather vanishing into the dense tree line. He's just hunting. Xiao Shir sighs, trying to stay calm. But peering down at the blood-soaked field, the scenery shifts. A fallen official's limb twitches. Xiao Shir blinks hard, but the horror is real. Malevolent mist coils around the body. The corpse staggers to its feet, features distorting into a ghastly demonic mask. With a soul-chilling roar, the man becomes a feral beast. Xiao Shir gasps, frozen in fear. An undead surge. The hound howls as the fallen army begins to stir, shattered limbs clicking into position. Wet snaps echo as an invisible power hoists the bodies. One by one, the fallen rise like puppets. Their lifeless gazes pierce the dark. Suddenly, a haunting high-pitched tune carries on the breeze. Xiao Shir leans through the gap. It's the mourning wail of a swan horn, and it's commanding the dead. Out of the heavy fog, a bizarre parade emerges, crimson banners snapping violently against the midnight breeze. A majestic scarlet palanquin takes center stage, making Xiao Shir briefly think he's witnessing a traditional wedding. But his gut screams danger, this is no party. A fox spirit in ritual robes steps forth holding a golden horn. Wailing on the Suona, it leads a demonic troop of foxes who smash drums and cymbals in a sickening, twisted rhythm. This hellish beat turns corpses into puppets. The fallen Six Gates officers are now mere dolls on strings. They twitch and jerk in a macabre dance. Terrified Xiao Shir inches away from the glass heart hammering. He turns, but Grandpa has vanished. The temple is a tomb. He death grips the peachwood talisman, his only lifeline. It's the final gift from his elder. He rips the seal open, but icy dread washes over him instantly. This paper scrap is useless against these monsters. Suddenly, a piercing shriek tears through the silence of the night. Bring forth the groom. Within the red carriage, a veiled bride sits in terrifying, deathly stillness. Invite the groom, the foxes howl. Their muzzles warp into wicked grins as emerald fire ignites in their eyes. Closing in on the shrine, the zombie officials march in sync, their radiant glares locked onto Xiao Shir's hiding spot. The command booms. Invite the groom. The walls shake. Xiao Shir is paralyzed as the structure groans in fear. He's the target. Without warning, the Spirit Legion blitzes forward, launching explosive seals straight at the window. Inches from impact, the flaming talismans halt in midair. Time itself seems to stop in a haunting, breathless hush. A pathetic yelp breaks the quiet. Black Pot, the dog bolts into the shadows with its tail tucked tight. Boom, the roof caves in. Massive boulders rain down on Xiao Shir, who barely rolls clear of the crushing debris. As the temple crumbles, a tangent-sized stone fist shatters the main wall, obliterating the barricade into a cloud of grit. Gaping in horror, Xiao Shir feels the beast's crushing pressure. Then through the settling dust, a bizarre sight emerges. The red palanquin sits perfectly still amidst the wreckage. Ghostly mist swirls as a ghostly white hand parts the curtains. Long blood-stained talons glint under the moon. Xiao Shir breaks into a cold sweat. An apex predator is waiting inside. Unexpectedly, Blackpot charges back. He snarls and barks, throwing himself between his master and the cursed carriage. Respect for his dog surges in Xiao Shir's chest, but it's short-lived. A jagged obsidian shadow rips through the atmosphere. The drapes fly back to reveal a ghost bride in crimson silks. Her colorless lips twist into a predatory evil smirk. Under a gold veil, a lethal black spike lunges forward with god-tier speed. Paralyzed by fear, Xiao Shir watches a razor-edged shadow whip past his head, missing him by mere millimeters. The impact blast hurls him backward, sending his body ragdolling across the debris in a violent spin. He slides across the broken floor, coming to a jagged halt as pure adrenaline floods his system. Locking his gaze on the enemy, he sees the red carriage sitting motionless in the shadows. It's eerily calm, but the crushing aura it emits makes it hard to breathe. Xiao Shir grunts, forcing himself back up. He watches the drapes, waiting for the beast to show its face. Suddenly, his vision blurs, and the world tilts. In a flash, he's no longer outside. He's standing in a tiny room bathed in an ominous crimson glow. His heart hammers against his ribs. He's inside the bride's carriage. The air is thin, heavy, and claustrophobic. Trembling, he peels back the curtain. Outside, Black Pot is frantically barking at the spot where he once stood. The dog is lost, but Xiao Shear faces a darker truth. He isn't the only one in this box. A motionless shadow lurks in the corner. It slowly rotates its head, revealing a deathly pale face. Under a traditional hat, Xiao Shear gasps. The man is decked out in full ceremonial groom's attire. Trapped and powerless, the groom is enveloped in swirling crimson mists, his eyes vacant and devoid of a soul. Suddenly, the carriage rockets into the sky. Emerald fog lashes out as the palanquin hurtles through the night air. The foxes vault into the air, catching the carriage on their shoulders before resuming their sinister march forward. Golden horns shriek, cymbals clash, and drums boom. This nightmarish parade isn't stopping for anyone. In a mocking celebration, a fox unhinges its jaw to blast a massive ear-splitting horn. Another smashes cymbals with insane fervor. In the ruins, Black Pot watches in horror as his master is kidnapped. The hound unleashes a feral howl, sprinting after the airborne carriage with every ounce of his strength. Inside the dim carriage, the ghost bride finally makes her move, cornering Xiao Shear. He freezes as her white hand. Jagged talons lunge forward. With a savage jerk, she shreds his robes into tatters. That elegant smirk contorts into a nightmare. Rows of serrated fangs glisten inside her maw. She pounces, unhinging her jaw wide enough to swallow him in one gruesome gulp. A blood-curdling shriek pierces the night as the spectral parade streaks across the sky. Suddenly, the carriage curtains explode outward. Xiao Shu is hurled violently onto the road. His body slams into the earth. He tumbles through the grime before skidding to a halt. Black Pot bolts over, barking frantically. Shaken, Xiao Shu struggles to sit up. Why did the beast cast him out? Before he can process it, an ear-splitting wail erupts. The spirit bride howls in absolute dread from within the receding sedan chair. She retreats into the shadows. On Xiao Shu's chest, a spectral palm print pulses with emerald light. Xiao Shu clutches his ribs in shock. That cursed mark didn't show mercy, it saved him. That bride feared the phantom hand bound to his heart. Yet the danger is far from over. A massive grating sound rumbles through the shrine. Stone groans against stone in the darkness. Xiao Shu freezes. In this witching hour, even worse horrors could crawl out at any second. Time to gear up. He frantically rolls out yellow wards across a shattered table. His brush dances, etching sacred symbols. Azure sparks of spirit energy crackle at his fingertips. He mirrors his grandfather's ancient techniques. Each stroke is a lifeline, each charm a prayer. Inside the decaying shrine, he toils tirelessly. Fatigue weighs like lead, but he cannot falter. These flimsy scraps are his only shield. He inspects a finished ward with anxious eyes. Perspiration stings his face. Can these amateur seals really hold back the terrors lurking outside? Methodically, he plasters every entrance and window with peachwood charms to lock evil out. No gap can be left exposed. His thoughts spiral toward dark legends of malevolent entities. Tales of demons erasing whole towns and crushing masters. Xiao Shu's grip begins to tremble. A chilling realization hits him. If the old man faces such horrors, will he even survive? Grandpa is invincible, he whispers, seeking comfort. But the hollow silence provides no solace. He collapses against a pillar near Black Pot, softly stroking the hound's head. His voice cracks into a faint murmur. The old man. He might already be lost. A solitary tear hits the floor. Finally, Xiao Shu faces the reality he tried to bury. He couldn't run forever. His grandfather had changed. A haunting memory pulls him back. 2 weeks ago, the old man issued a grim prophecy. His time was running out. Hell-bent on defying fate, he forged a mad plan to stage his very own funeral. By mimicking a cold cadaver, he aimed to deceive the grim reapers of the underworld. He set the ritual altar, prepared offerings, and lowered himself into the dark casket. His flesh turned waxen. His breath slowed to nothing. He became a perfect image of death. Survive one day in that box, and he might just cheat destiny of a few years. From the darkness, he whispered, I am only doing this so I won't leave you alone. But when the lid finally creaked open, the man who emerged was a complete stranger. Now the memories flood back. He remembers Grandpa devouring wax candles like a starving animal. Ganashing on wicks, he shunned real food and inhaled only the acrid smoke of incense. Eventually, even smoke failed him. He began huddling over gore, feasting on raw, dripping meat. His gaze burned with a hellish crimson. The unholy hunger for human life had awakened. As Black Pot whimpered, the realization shattered Xiao Shu. The ritual burial had been a failure. He was a living cadaver, defying nature. Hot tears blurred Xiao Shu's vision in the dark. The old man was waging war against heaven just to stay with him, monster or not. Even if he eventually thirsts for human blood, he remains the only family Xiao Shu has left. Suddenly, heavy thuds echo in the courtyard. Grandpa has returned. Black Pot greets him with a wagging tail as the old man offers a gentle pat. The immediate threat vanishes. Inside, he watches the exhausted boy sleep on a tattered mat. The elder remains awake, tending a bubbling cauldron over the embers. The ritual must go on. Staring into the fumes, his crimson eye flickers. He's living on borrowed time, but vows to hold on until the boy matures. Yet a darker truth looms. One day, the beast inside will win. In the flickering firelight, he gently holds the boy's wrist, a silent vow echoing in his mind. If he loses control, he will end the boy's life himself. Drag him down to the abyss with me. He can't leave Xiaoxir alone in this nightmare, and without a guide. The kid's monstrous potential might accidentally trigger an apocalypse. Xiaoxir lets out a strained grunt, heaving a colossal boulder across the dirt to barricade the temple gates against the twilight. He exhales sharply, swiping grime from his brow. Relief flickers for a split second, then his face contorts in shock. The very earth beneath his boots seems to dissolve. Reality warps with a sickening jolt, exposing a terrifying vista. The hillside now plunges into a bottomless, dizzying void, as though the peak just pierced the heavens. Xiaoxir chokes on his breath. What is this madness? He bolts back inside, desperate to report the supernatural glitch. But Grandpa stays fixated on his simmering emerald green concoction. Out here, the elder mutters nonchalantly, the impossible is just another Tuesday. That casual vibe weirdly settles Xiaoxir's nerves. He is low-key obsessed with his Gramps' wisdom now. Driven by burning curiosity, Xiaoxir scales a massive support beam and starts spamming the old man with a million questions. How did this sanctuary even manifest? Why are the peaks stretching? Did the sun just quit early? Is this the work of those vengeful phantoms? He drops down next to Grandpa, eyes wide with anticipation. The elder tugs his beard, letting the silence hang before speaking. You have way too much energy tonight, kid. Let's double your meds. Xiaoxir instantly pulls a frantic spit take. Broth sprays everywhere as he hacks wildly. Double. But despite his protests, the brew starts kicking in fast. Entering a deep trance, a searing fire erupts within his core. Yet dancing through that inferno is a peculiar, icy focus. Ethereal azure flames suddenly engulf his frame. His progress is skyrocketing at double its normal pace. Xiaoxir's jaw drops. The concoction just forced a massive level up. He can finally tap into the celestial essence of the Three Lights cultivation path. Then a sudden realization halts him mid-breath. He scans the ruined ceiling. Hold up if he's fueling up on moonbeams. Where exactly is that light source coming from? Xiaoxir creeps out of the rubble. The second he exits, the link snaps. His strength evaporates instantly. He lunges back inside and boom, the azure lightning begins crackling around him once more. Xiaoxir stands paralyzed. The realization hits him like a truck. The fundamental laws of physics are warped inside these walls. This is the only spot where he can siphon celestial power. Gazing at the broken ceiling, he knows this place is a spiritual anomaly. He almost spills the beans to the old man, but slams his hand over his mouth. One wrong word, and Gramps will 100% double that nasty medicine again. He throws a shady side eye at the withered figure by the fire. Seriously, the old guy is probably clueless. All he knows is how to brew that literal liquid nightmare. Then right on schedule, Grandpa shouts from the embers, "Don't waste this holy site's juice." Xiaoxir doesn't hesitate. He throws his head back and downs the tonic like a champ. If this ruins buff can accelerate his path to power, he is all in. Session complete, the duo hauls their gear and heads out. Their rickety wagon clatters along the jagged, narrow mountain trails. Suddenly, Xiaoxir's internal compass pings. This is not the road back to their home village. Grandpa veers into unmapped territory. Change of plans, kid. We are hitting the Moon Sacrifice Festival, the elder reveals. Xiaoxir does some quick mental math. The party is supposed to rage for 3 whole days. If they floor it, they might catch the grand finale. Before long, a massive fortress town looms ahead, guarded by towering stone walls. They have reached Yandong village. An imposing monolith looms over the gates, depicting a bizarre entity, shielding its own vision. "Meet the godmother of Yandong," Grandpa mutters. The wagon creaks through the gates. The boulevards are packed with high-rolling tourists decked out in designer silk. Xiaoxir scans the crowd, totally lost. Why is not anyone showing respect to the godmother? Grandpa scoffs. These are just trust fund elites from Shuiyin. They are here for the vibes, not the religion. Xiaoxir spots something even wilder. Despite the massive attendance, the market is dead quiet. His eyes gleam. It is money time. Gramps, hold the fort. I am grabbing supplies. The old man bellows back. Don't you dare blow our talisman budget. Xiaoxir freezes, gives a shaky thumbs up, and vanishes. Later, a rich-looking dude stops by. Got any peach blossom charms? Xiaoxir blinks in shock. Yeah, obviously. The guy does not waste time cutting straight to business. What is your stock? Xiaoxir tallies the yellow parchment in his grip. The stranger nods. I am buying the whole lot. But eyeing the measly pile, his face drops. That is it. Then he squinted. Wait, did you craft these yourself? Xiao Shi stiffens under the intense scrutiny, but manages a bold nod. Who needs a divine fetus? When you can juice scripts with the three lights art, he is a legit master. The wealthy customer just hurls a silver ingot arcs through the air. Xiao Shi lunges desperate to snag it. 50 tiles of pure silver. Follow me. We need more talismans. Xiao Shi gapes at the fortune in his palm. 50 taels. Shock turns into pure hunger. He scraps his stall in seconds, trailing the mysterious buyer into the woods. Xiao Shi and Black Pot push deeper into the mountain peaks. He shifts the weight of his heavy crate. So what's our destination? The guide finally speaks. The name's Li Guang, he says, with a smirk. I'm with a young lord at a nearby hunting camp, he chuckles, sounding far too relaxed. My master needs charms to woo some ladies. Xiao Shi forces a polite laugh before probing further. And who is this master? Li Guang beams. The prestigious Li family of Xuan County, he brags. Xiao Shi's blood runs cold. His heart stops. Li Guang keeps rambling. Surely you've heard the name. Young Master Li shouting, the top scholar of the provincial exams. That name strikes Xiao Shi like a lightning bolt. Violent flashbacks erupt. The monsters who sliced him open. The thieves who ripped out his divine fetus. The clan that wrecked his world. The dots finally connect. This lord is the thief who stole his destiny. Li Guang's bragging never stops. My master is a literal god. He lets out a punchable laugh. Wealthy bloodlines make things easier, obviously. Xiao Shi bows his head, shadows masking his darkening expression. He grips his crate straps until his knuckles whiten. Family status. Another word for absolute power. Power to tear a soul from a child's chest. Xiao Shi trembles as molten fury consumes his heart. He glares at the servant's back. His life was sacrificed just to boost some pampered rich brat. His fists tighten. A dark lethal aura swirls around his palms. Xiao Shi has finally found his prey. A silent vow echoes in his soul. Young Master Li, our debt is about to be paid.